Cale Henderson sat amidst the beige purgatory of the IT department, staring at a tuna sandwich that seemed to be contemplating its own sad existence. Life, as Cale knew it, was a series of server reboots and maternal inquiries about his bachelorhood, a loop as predictable as code. But in stories like this, the mundane is merely a curtain waiting to be torn down. The tearing began with a flicker. The fluorescent strips overhead spasmed and died, replaced instantly by an amber emergency glow that cast the cubicle farm in the sinister hue of a developing bruise. "Great," Janet hissed from the next cubicle, stabbing her keyboard. "There goes my afternoon migration." Cale adjusted his glasses, looking at his dead monitor. He was 28, drowning in error logs, wondering if this was the sum of his years. Then, the elevator chimed, a sound too crisp, too precise for this decaying building. Footsteps followed, not the shuffle of bored employees, but the rhythmic, heavy cadence of military boots and the sharp click of authority. 3 figures emerged from the gloom, clad in motorcycle gear that swallowed the light. They stopped at his desk. The leader, slight but commanding, reached up. Her helmet retracted with a hiss, folding away like mechanical petals to reveal a face that shattered Cale's reality. Her skin was the blue of deep twilight. Her ears swept back into elegant points. In her eyes were violet storms he hadn't seen since he was a boy, dreaming in the woods. "Hello, Cale," Varia said. Her voice was a melody of forgotten wind chimes. "It's been 15 years. The sandwich hit the keyboard. The office fell silent, save for the hum of the ventilation. "Varia," the name tasted like impossible nostalgia. "My parents said I made you up." "Your parents underwent memory modification," she replied, her tone casual, as if discussing a software update. "It was necessary for planetary security." Janet stood up, mouth agape. Behind Varia, her 2 companions, Commander Zephys and Healer Quill, loomed like statues carved from starlight and danger. "You can't be real," Cale stammered, the skepticism of adulthood fighting the memory of the boy he once was. "I was 8. I found you in the woods. I thought you were an elf." "Ethrani," she corrected, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "And you promised to marry me." The amber light flickered, plunging them into a heartbeat of darkness before returning. "I was 8, Cale's voice cracked. "I also declared war on vegetables. That doesn't make it binding legislation." "Among my people, childhood promises carry the weight of cosmic law," Varia said, her violet eyes darkening with sudden vulnerability. "You created a psychic bond. If we do not complete the ceremony before your 29th birthday, the resonance will destabilize." Zephys activated a wrist projector. A hologram bloomed above the desk, a galaxy swirling with angry red pulses. "Madness across 17 species," the commander stated cheerfully. "Galactic war. Total extinction. Estimated recovery, 3,000 years." Cale slumped. His birthday was in 3 weeks. The narrative shifted from the absurdity of the office to the cold sterility of a government facility. Agent Morrison had escorted Cale to a room marked Conference Room C, a place that smelled of stale coffee and high treason. Director Walsh, the steel-haired woman at the head of the table, introduced herself. "Mr. Henderson, you have managed to turn Earth into a galactic target." Daughter Reeves, a xenopsychologist, pulled up a display. "The Korak hegemony has filed a protest. The Void Singers are humming, which usually precedes the devouring of solar systems. You see, Princess Varia..." "Princess?" Cale looked at Varia, who stood by the wall in formal diplomatic armor. "Third in line for the Crystal Throne," she admitted softly. "I omitted that detail." "She has spent 15 years in bond sickness," Reeves continued, his voice dropping. "It's a spiritual withering. She's been missing half her soul. If you don't bond, she dies within the month. And then the galaxy burns." The silence in the room was heavier than gravity. Cale looked at Varia. He saw the fear behind the royalty, the girl he'd shared an orange with in the dirt. It's strange how the fate of civilizations often hinges on the smallest moments. A shared snack, a child's vow. "Okay," Cale said, exhaling a breath he didn't know he was holding. "Let's go save the galaxy." Their departure was less NASA and more runaway fugitives. The Athrani ship was a masterpiece of aggression and art, looking like a swan weaponized by a paranoid deity. As they pierced the atmosphere, leaving the blue marble of Earth behind, Quill scanned Kale. The bonding will grant you a lifespan of 3,000 years, the healer noted. Evolution with better benefits. And if we die on the way, Kale asked, strapping in. Then we die together, Varea said, engaging the engines. Space, Kale discovered, was crowded. 3 Korak battle cruisers intercepted them, jagged, floating cities bristling with hatred. Standard diplomatic protocol, Zephas announced, firing weapons that lit the void like a supernova. The ship banked hard, throwing Kale against his restraints as energy blasts hammered their shields. It was a Kayak ballistis of Valians, Virea's hands dancing over the controls with terrifying grace. This is diplomacy? Kale shouted over the roar. The Korak communicate through aggressive poetry and combat, Virea replied, spinning the ship through a debris field. We just told them we respectfully decline their request to vaporize us. They punched through the blockade, leaving the burning cruisers behind, racing toward the council ship. The Athrani High Council chamber was a cathedral of light filled with beings that defied biology. Floating platforms held representatives from dozens of worlds. Kale stood before High Counselor Thine, feeling small, human, and ridiculously underdressed. Do you accept this bond? Thean asked, his voice vibrating in Kale's bones. Kale looked at Virea. The fear was gone, replaced by a terrifying clarity. He wasn't just the IT guy anymore. He was the pivot point of history. I do, Kale said. Though I'd like it noted, this is insane. I do, Virea whispered. The bonding wasn't a flash of light. It was a quiet opening of doors. Kale felt her mind touch his, not an invasion, but a homecoming. He felt her relief, her joy, and the sudden expansion of his own senses. He could smell the ozone of the air scrubbers. He could taste the color of the starlight filtering through the dome. The universe suddenly felt legible, as if he had finally been given the administrative password to reality itself. Applause erupted, a cacophony of roars, chirps, and songs. Hours later, the celebration wound down. Kale and Virea stood on an observation deck, watching the slow, majestic turn of a nebula. He held a drink that sparkled like liquid diamonds. Any regrets? Virea asked, leaning against the railing. Kale looked at his hand, intertwined with hers. He thought of his cubicle, the flickering lights, the lonely tuna sandwich. He thought about his mother and the impossible conversation awaiting her. He felt the hum of the ship, the connection to Virea's soul thrumming in the back of his mind, and the 3,000 years stretching out before him like an unwritten book. No regrets, Kale smiled, realizing for the first time that he fit the frame. I was never very good at being fully human anyway. I love you, Kale Henderson, she said, the words carrying the weight of 15 years of waiting. I love you too, princess, he replied, squeezing her hand as they looked out into the infinite dark. Now tell me more about these time-traveling pirates. Oh, she laughed, a sound like silver bells. They only attack on Tuesdays.